In this video, I'm going to be talking about some of my biggest regrets when it comes to health and fitness. My journey began in 2004. That's when I first touched a barbell. I was in year 9, and as soon as I did that first bench press, it was love at first rep. And I've been grinding ever since. And I've made quite a few mistakes, and that's what I want to highlight. So one of the key traps, one of the key mistakes that I've fallen into was getting caught up in comparison. Now, for me, growing up in the era that I did in the 90s, early 2000s, the people that I saw in terms of physiques, we're talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Jean-Claude Van Damme, and wrestlers from WWF, WCW. So these were the folks that I was seeing, and they were basically superhuman. So nobody compared themselves to Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, whatever. We just saw these people as otherworldly figures. And the physiques that I saw was the folks around me. And so back then, it was less of an issue. But then what happened as technology advanced? Suddenly, YouTube is really popping off, Instagram is really popping off, and instead of Stallone and Schwarzenegger, I'm now being exposed to all kinds of physiques from people across the world. And suddenly, those seeds of comparison are really taking hold. And that began a cycle of like just negative comparisons. Never being satisfied with my own physique because I'm never big enough compared to such and such, compared to this particular influencer, this particular YouTuber who is leaner than me, who is bigger than me. And so that got me caught up. That messed up my psychology, essentially. And what that meant is I was never really able to just enjoy the physique that I had. I was never able to be present and enjoy the physique because I'm still caught up in the future. So there was a lack of contentment. I was not satisfied with my physique ever, right? Because no matter what I did, I was still falling short. And it took me a while, it took me a long time to untether myself from this toxic aspect of comparison, whereby I'm now focused on doing my thing and I don't consume the content in the manner that I did. And this links up with a second regret, which is from these same YouTubers and influencers, I picked up another habit. And this habit was the cutting and the bulking. So I had to question, why am I training like a professional bodybuilder? Like these folks, they get super lean. So I was trying to get super lean, right? Remember the comparison piece. I was trying to get super lean and then, okay, let me go on the bulk. And so this got me caught up in another cycle, but this time this is yo-yo dieting. So my physique is, I'm lean, then I'm up, then I'm lean, then I'm up. And it was terrible, actually, because when I look back on this, I spent the majority of my years cutting, in a cutting phase. So I was depleting myself, right? For the sake of what? For the sake of a particular aesthetic, which I couldn't even maintain because I was now caught up in this yo-yo dieting cycle. And so understanding that, why am I training like these people who have to get super lean? And the reason that they have to go on these cycles is because being super lean in this particular regard is not really sustainable. And so spending the majority of those years, basically the majority of my 20s was spent in a cut. Like I was kind of perpetually cutting, which is a terrible, terrible thing. And so now for me, it's a case of maintenance. So I'm just kind of doing my thing. I'm training, I'm enjoying the process, right? And funnily, ironically, I'm making perhaps more gains than I was before when I was doing all of this cutting and bulking. And so that's another lesson learned. And so what this compounding with the first piece about the comparison, it meant that I was focusing on the destination and I wasn't really able to enjoy the journey for what it was and for what it is, right? Which is a way to keep myself healthy, a way to push myself, right? Now, another regret, not getting into calisthenics earlier. this is something that I look back on it and like, you know what, I probably should have done more body work stuff, right? In my 20s perhaps. But I was fixated on the gym. It was gym. And so getting into calisthenics in the last couple of years, it's been just a nice way of training. There's a kind of social aspect of it, being outdoors, being with people, and just doing your thing. There's something very almost spiritual about the calisthenics in a group setting. Everybody's doing their thing to different levels, to different degrees. And so maybe getting into calisthenics earlier is something that I could have done. Another piece, I guess, on a lighter topic is tolerating subpar service from a gym. And the reason I tolerated this subpar service is because of loyalty. So they basically let all standards slip, right? It was just everything is broken down, everything is run down, and basically the customers are being neglected. And because I had been going to that gym for 10 years or so, I just kind of staying there out of blind loyalty. And it reached a threshold where I couldn't even stay, man. I couldn't stay, and I had to abandon the ship because it looked quite clear that they did not care about their customers. And so I had to leave that gym. And what I did find, fortunately, is that the grass in this particular instance was definitely greener on the other side, because the new gym, they've got all kinds of equipment. They've got wheels that you can flip, like they've got boxing bags, heavy bags. The sauna works like consistently, and just an abundance of equipment compared to the previous gym. So that was a move which I probably in hindsight I could have made earlier, but due to loyalty. And a final regret was I used to train because I wasn't fulfilled with myself. So I was thinking, if I get lean, then my self-esteem is going to be high. So my self-esteem was extrinsic. It was conditional. It was based on how do I look. The better I look, the higher the self-esteem will be. And of course, as you can imagine, that's very dangerous, because when my physique is not very lean, then the self-esteem suffered. There was a period whereby I wasn't happy with my physique. And I was so unhappy that I literally couldn't look in the mirror. And so what I would do is I would grab an A4 sheet of paper, some sellotape, and I would cover the mirror because I was disgusted with what I saw, right? And this is because my self-esteem, my self-worth, my self-value was being tethered to how lean I was and what I looked like in the mirror. But me having this understanding that, listen, the value is within, right? The value is intrinsic and it's not conditional based on what I look like. That was a very important, very hard lesson for me to learn, but that has definitely transformed my life. And yeah, I think just in summary, there's a lot happening right now with regards to body image, body standards, body dysmorphia. There's so many potential traps, especially for the young folks now. It was difficult for me with the level of social media that I have, but things, in my opinion, have only got worse. The standards are continually being inflated by Hollywood, and everyone is pushing everything to the limit. Pro bodybuilding, all of that is creating a very, very difficult situation for a lot of young folks to navigate. And so I hope that you've taken something from this video. I'll catch you on the next one.